I have around 8 years of experience in the industry. I started off as a Java developer, and then I transitioned to Android, and then again I had to transition to Flutter, but that's where I am. And now again I have to transition to AI, so that is what technology calls. So my topic is crafting personalized experiences for a book recommendation app for your users using AI, particularly Gemini. So how many of you know what Gemini is? A few people. Okay. So I'll be talking around that. How many of you know ChatGPT? Okay. I'm sorry to say I'm not going to use ChatGPT. So agenda for today. First of all, I'll be talking about what is it that you will gain from this talk. Like what is it that I'll be discussing. Then I'll be talking about why this talk is so important in this era. Like why you should be taking something out of this topic. And then I'll be talking about how I developed a mobile app using AI, and which was powered by the brain of Gemini instead of using the same old algorithms that LinkedIn or Pinterest or Instagrams use. So I will be talking about. So I'll be talking about how I personalized my book recommendation app. So before I get into the how, I would like to talk about what the algorithm or the model works on. So it works on showing book recommendations based on the genres that are liked by that user, the likes and the dislikes of that user, and then again what kind of ratings each book gets from that user, and what type of books the user is reading, and what type of the books are piled up in their unread section. So all these things are considered to personalize the book recommendations for a particular user using Gemini. So now you know what this talk is going to be about. So I'd like to ask you that why are you interested in this topic? Like why would you like to continue sitting here and talk about or listen about what I have to say on these topics? Anyone? No one? So you're not at all intrigued by these things? Good. So I'll tell you exactly why you should be, staying here. So mobile development, kisko aata hai? Like how many of you are mobile app developers? And how many of you are web developers? Right? Okay. So each and every one of us is now very well versed with mobile development or very well versed with a web development, right? And that is not going anywhere, and the crowd is certainly not getting less. So in this pool of developers, in this pool of Flutter developers, in this pool of Angular developers, what is it that gives you an edge? There has to be something, right? You have to stand out. Era of AI. So I'll just give you a minute to scan this. Please go and clap, huh? No, not here, on medium. Okay. So I'll start with the process that I followed to get this app up and running. So while getting started, like every other experienced mobile app developer, I also had these things in my mind, very specific. Like I'll be using a mobile app because that would be in the most easiest accessible platform for my users. Then for front end, I'll be using Flutter because apparently that's the hype in the service. And then I decided to build my backend in Python because Python calls for less code and it was more scalable. I'll come to that part later, how it would scale my app. But this is the tech stack that I came up with in a day. It just got me a day of thinking to know that okay, this is the tech stack that I'll be using. But what took long? deciding the AI model, deciding the large language model which I'll be using for crafting this personalized app for my users. So after many considerations, after many experimentations, I came up with a solution that Gemini was the only model which gave me the things that I needed for this app. Of course, every other platform is also super, super trained for such cases. But in my case, Gemini was the solution, and I'll be talking about why Gemini, why I chose Gemini. I'll be going through all that process also. So next comes the research which I did to make sure that the app that I am building is actually getting me the results that I envisioned. So naturally, like others, my first choice was ChatGPT. OpenAI जब आया नवंबर में तो all of us got crazy. Who didn't get crazy about that? Oh, you did? So like every other person, every other developer, I went crazy after ChatGPT. So I decided कि OpenAI है तो मैं यही use कर लेती हूँ. Why should I go and explore other things, right? But after experimenting with it, after trying to build custom GPTs, after trying to get answers in a way that I would like the GPT to give me, I came to the conclusion that ChatGPT was not latest. As some of you may know that ChatGPT usually gives us a response like, I am sorry, I have data only up till September 2021 and I cannot go further than that, or something like that. The next thing that I found is that it was precise, but it was not accurate. So for my app, the books recommendation app, I needed accurate results and not just some precise results, which the users may or may not like. May or may not was not an option for me. So then what? Then I said, okay, if it is precise, I can still do with it. But then I also wanted to show my users links to those books. Like Amazon pe सीधा जाना है. Like I want to convert them to, actually good level of users. So I would have liked to, just take them to the publication page or take them to the Amazon links directly. But ChatGPT sadly did not give me that also. It again said me that I am not trained to give you this and that. Then I tried custom GPTs, which were more advanced, which required more advanced payment. And then again, sadly, it did not give me REST APIs to work on. The custom GPTs you can build, you can use, but sadly you do not have, APIs around that. You do have OpenAI assistants, but that is still immature. So then I came to Gemini. Anyone who has some experience with Gemini can tell me how Gemini helped them. Anyone? Yes?
Extract from the Google and do scraping for the results. Yes, any images are possible in Gemini.
Okay. Anyone else? How to declare integer in Python? Because I did that. Okay. So Gemini helped me a lot in this sense. How? So it actually gave me factual accuracy, right? So the accuracy that I was looking for, like for example, if I search that my favorite genre is fantasy, and if it gave me, I gave it my personality traits, and if it gave me Harry Potter, then I was like, wow, it gave me Harry Potter. So that was actually factual accuracy for me. It gave me up-to-date information because unlike ChatGPT, it can also search the web and get results from the web directly. And search results from Google, we all know how that works and how that is. Then again, it gave me the links to those books or those publications or those Amazon pages which I was not able to get from ChatGPT. And then it also gave me the SDKs and APIs and the nano models which I could directly use on my mobile apps. I would be still retrospecting on whether to use the SDKs or the nano mobiles or directly the REST APIs, but I'll come to that later. But this is what I found from comparing ChatGPT and Gemini. I experimented with both of it, and this is what the results that I got.
Hello.
anyone knows what Google AI Studio is? No one? Okay. So, I think I'll have to drink water for it because you don't know Google AI Studio.
Meanwhile, we will Google it.
Okay. So, Google AI Studio is yet another interface where you can interact with Gemini like chat model. It is something like a chat model where you feed it some data and then you get responses and so on. What edge it has is that I'm not sure whether it's visible to you, but it has something called a system instructions to it. So you are actually telling the model that okay, you are a math teacher and this is you are particularly trained to teach mathematics to 7th standard students, something like that. So it is a specific instructions that you give to the model so that the model, while it's thinking or while it's gathering the data, it actually gathers the data which is actually relevant to your use case. So again, that is something called as context. So it provides you with the opportunity to get system instructions. The second edge that it has is it's multimodal. Like it can take images, it can take files, it can take audio in as a request or as prompts, and then it can study those and give you the answers. So right now my app does not use this multimodal feature, but it is to scale and it is to search through CSV files as well. I'll come to that later again. But this is how I experimented and this is how I tested Gemini for its authenticity, for its accuracy, and for its speed, and for its ability to scan data. So as you can see in the chat, I gave it specifications that you are an expert in books and you have all the knowledge about all the books and so on and so forth. And then I gave it that I am a hardcore book lover and my favorite genre is fantasy. So it again asks me, instead of giving me recommendation, it is again asking me that okay, cool, so who is your favorite author? So it is doing that on its own. I am not telling it or I am not giving him instructions that you engage with the users like this to craft the recommendations in a certain way, in a personalized way. So again, this was a feature which would be using while scaling the application later on. So this again gave it the second star that I needed for Gemini. And then I said J.K. Rowling, and then it said that oh, you are a Potterhead, and so again it gave me a list of fantasy books. So that is Google AI Studio, which by experimenting gave me lot of things and lot of insights and opened up my vision about what this particular app could do in future when I scale it to a certain level. So now comes the main part. How did I make the model? How did I use the model, or how did I got the model to do exactly what I need? Are you guys able to see what is written in the green text? A bit. Okay, I'll just read for you once. So I gave the models instructions that you are an expert in all types of books and possess knowledge about all the books. You specialize in recommending books to users based on their choices, like genres, the disliked and liked books, and the ratings that they give to books. Then I said that your recommendations comes from the user preferences. You have to keep in mind the preferences that the users have stored in the database. And then I am giving it an example. For example, include the kind of books the user likes and discard the kind of books that the user dislikes. Your book recommendations are written in the form of a JSON. And please feel to use JSON objects and lists in your response wherever necessary. So these are the instructions which I gave to the users. I want to divide the instructions into parts. First of all, you are giving the model a custom instruction about what they are and in what direction they should be thinking. Second, I want the model to understand that the recommendations that they give to the users are not purely based on the genre that the users are engaged with, but also the kind of books that they like and dislike. Second, I want the model to also consider ratings that the user has given to certain books. So for example, if I have given a 5-star rating to a Harry Potter book, then the model is going to keep that in mind and the model is going to recommend me books around that. And fourth, most important part is that I gave it an example. That for example, if I have liked this book, please include such books in your response. If I have disliked a book, then please do not, include that in your response. And then last, I have given it a structured output pattern. Like, let's say I am building a REST API for my application, and like most of the APIs, the response is going to be in JSON, right? But these models do not give you such structured answer, but it gives you just a string of response. So I wanted the model to give me a JSON which I could easily parse and throw it out from my API call. So this is this is the most important parts or principles of prompt engineering which we use while dealing with AI models. Can we repeat it once again? Does anyone, remember the 4 principles that I just said? अगर पानी भी उड़ाए तो बताने. Yes. Yeah. Examples include the books from ratings, include the books that were liked or disliked. So you give it a context, then you give it examples, then you give it a content which it should work on, the kind of data that it gets from the database. Then you give it what kind of structured output you need. So these are the 4 principles that the model is going to work on. These are the most important 4 principles that are engaged with the prompt engineering pattern. And then these are just the instructions. These instructions are going to be the same for each and every user, for each and every book, or for each and every recommendations that the model is giving. So I have put them down in instructions. Now comes the prompt part. The prompt is going to be according to each and every user of my app. So it is definitely going to be dynamic. So the prompt that I will be creating would come from my database instead of hard-coded like the instructions. So the prompt is, assume that you are an expert in recommending books and these are the instructions given to you, and you have following information about the books that are liked by the user and the books that are disliked by the user. Based on the information that you have, follow the instructions that are already given to you and answer this simple question. Generate a list of recommended books for me. I should be able to use your response JSON directly and remove all the carriage returns. So I know this is very unprofessional, like remove carriage returns, yaar, regex use kar lo. But sadly I have to give it to Gemini because it would still give me that results. But it worked pretty well. So this is the prompts which I used, and anyone have any idea, like someone with a more experience level can tell me that why didn't I use the SDKs or the Nano models that are already there for Android, Python and Gemini, and instead why I chose to build my own REST APIs? Anyone? Okay, so there are these SDKs that are already available on Android and Flutter platforms, which directly, you just have to pass in your API key, and which directly gives you the ability to interact with that particular model. But I have not used this. I have instead created my own REST APIs because, like I said earlier, I wanted to scale this on different platforms. Like right now, this is only a mobile app which was built in Flutter, but I also want to create a web application which would be in Node and Angular, and I would like to scale this for a web application as well. And for that, I needed these REST APIs so that they can work on any platform. They can interact with the user queries from any of the platforms that are available there. And hence, I used the APIs. And then I got this result. So, this is a very brief array of what inputs I gave to the model. Like I gave likes as Harry Potter and I gave dislikes as Narnia. And then I asked it to generate a list of recommended books. So it gave me the recommendations in the JSON format that I specifically asked it to. When you start chatting with ChatGPT and Gemini, you'll notice that it won't give you a structured output. But because I trained the model, or because I asked the model to do that, it gave me a JSON. So everything is prepared by the model. I did not have to go to my backend developer or yaar API bana de, yaar API bana de. I did not have to go through that 2-month cycle with them, and I just built it on my own. And then it gave me the title, the author, the genre, the description, and also the links. It gave me links for not only Goodreads but also Amazon, and that is amazing. How many of you go to Goodreads? Okay. So like Goodreads pe search karna, and it's very easy, but it's also you have to go through a bunch of screens. But from here, with just one click, you go directly to the Goodreads book, and then you can get to know all the feedback directly from your app. So that is the response. That is the thing. That is how I followed the process and how I researched about what kind of model I need from this particular use case. So, summing it all up, things to remember that when you have to choose a large language model, or when you have to choose between ChatGPT, Gemini, Mistral, and Llama 3 and everything, the most basic part is requirements. In my app, if let's say I have thousands of users today, then maybe my model can work pretty well with it. But what if I have lakhs of users? Assuming that would be lakhs of users, do I feed it similar texts? Is it worthwhile anyone? Like, will the model be able to support that? No, right? The user, eventually, each and every user is going to have hundreds of likes, right? And to pass that in the REST API, we all know what a headache that is going to be. So for that, I need to scale my application where I'll be feeding a CSV file to my model, which can go through the CSV file of data and then give me results based on that. And that is the reason why I used Google AI Studio, where I knew that if I pass a CSV file in a certain way, the model is also going to respond to me in that way. That is something which you cannot achieve with OpenAI. Also, there is something called as RAG, as Vaishnavi told us, retrieval augmented generation. That is whole another topic. But that is something which you should keep in mind when you are planning to have your own model. Like I did, you need to experiment with the model first. You need to consider your use cases. You need to consider what kind of adaptability your app is going to need and what type of scalability your app is going to need. For example, I needed my app to scale to a web app also. And I also needed my app to read the CSV files and get me the results. That is not what it is right now with my app, but I would certainly like my app to do that. And for that, I needed to experiment to know that the model that I'm using would actually be scalable to deal with this lakhs of data and these CSV files and everything. So before you start experiment with it, know that okay, these are the gray areas right now in my app, but will those gray area be filled with whatever data I have or whatever the model I'm using? And then if these models are pre-trained, ChatGPT or Gemini or Minstrel, these are all pre-trained with data sets that are building up or that are there on their servers for too long from now on. So to have your own data set is not feasible, or it is not something which a small company or startups can do, because it is going to take you lots of money, billions of dollars if I may say, to have your own data set. So if you are not using those data sets, that's fine. But like I showcased, you can certainly train your model to follow the instructions and follow the prompts and give you the results that you actually expect from your app. So that's it from my end. I hope I could at least pick you some of your interest in this, and hopefully you'll try Gemini, and hopefully you will Google AI Studio and start working on it. So thank you. Any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to thank Nidhi, Dhruva, Khushbu, Drumil, PM, Utpal sir and JD for having me here. Thank you very much.